Hello, everybody. Okay, I need to get Sarah on here. We are going to be talking about fasting, weight loss stalls. How do I add people? Oh, there we go. Oh, look. Okay, just getting Sarah on. Here we go. I think that should work. Oh,
Hi.
yay.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah. Okay. So, if for those that didn't watch my stories just a couple hours ago, me and Sarah were talking in the DMs about weight loss and weight loss stalls and fasting. And she had the brilliant idea, let's just bring it out of the DMs into a live. So, here we are.
Yeah.
Hello from Iowa. I will just say if anybody has questions, if you could put them, if there's that little bubble with the question mark, if you could put them in there, then it'll be easier to keep track because if the comments, like it shows when everybody joins, so we will lose the comments. I do see one. Do you have experience maintaining this lifestyle while breastfeeding? So we'll come back to that. I just didn't want to forget that one. So everyone put them in the thing. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I feel like I'm not the only one that's struggling right now. It seems to be, and maybe it's the new car syndrome that you see it everywhere, but I feel like a lot of other people are like, I can't lose weight anymore. I'm stalled.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to, how do I get these comments back? There we go. So I can see you. And like for me, I've been stuck at this 15, 20 pounds to go mark for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was blaming it like on not tracking macros. And maybe it can be that simple because I have lost a few now that I've started tracking, but it was just so easy in the beginning. And I feel like as you get closer to your goal, it's hard. And a lot of people are struggling with that. So tell us everything you know, Sarah. How do you fix us? Let us lose the rest of this weight.
So you're not alone. I was there. I mean, everybody has been through this. And like you just said, the closer you are to your goal, the harder it is to lose that weight because we really don't like in nature, we don't want to lose weight. Like that's for winter, that's for starvation, right? Like it's not, this is more of a new phenomenon that we're overfed and all this. So it is hard at that point. And carnivore, when people start, it is very easy because you're lowering so many things, you're taking so much out. And yeah, it's great that you've had, awesome changes. But then there's this plateau. And like you said, tracking can help because you need to know, I think people need to know, am I eating enough? Protein is very filling. And I feel like women, especially, we still only eat lean protein. Like we've been ingrained that, oh, it's chicken breast and this. And oh, I had a steak. Well, was it a sirloin steak? Like there's not any fat on that. So the majority of people on carnivore a lot of times are under eating or they are snacking a lot. And just because it's a carnivore food doesn't mean it's an open buffet all day long. And I think that's kind of where people do need a little discipline or need to work with somebody because if you just eat, and like, yeah, well, cheese is carnivore and pork rinds are carnivore. And I could eat probably a whole bag of pork rinds and not be full because, and they're super good. They're very calorie dense and yet they're not probably that filling in your stomach. So prioritizing eating meat, eating eggs, like those type of things are going to be best. Sorry, the sun is just going to I'm going to have to close this in a second because I'm blinded. But yeah, so those are like the beginning of it. And there are so many people out there that say, this is the way, eat lean protein, only eat protein, don't eat any fat, eat extra fat, eat all the fat, calorie reduce. You can lose weight any way you want. I mean, I remember doing Weight Watchers where I ate microwave popcorn and drank wine every night and I lost weight, but my blood pressure was through the roof. Like you can be unhealthy and be skinny. Like that's very real. So fat loss is different. It is usually slower, which people don't like, because weight loss can be quick. And, I know we were kind of talking a little bit about like the macros and, you know, all of this. I love, like, when you do have excess fat on your body, it is inflammatory. Like, we don't want to have extra fat. It can cause more hunger signaling. It can cause a lot of other issues that make us actually still think we're hungry. Some people in the carnivore community get really caught up in this leptin hormone, and yeah, your fat cells, that's basically, you know, you're always going to be hungry. You're never going to feel full, or your hunger signals are off. Leptin and ghrelin are controlled off by fat. So sorry, I'm just moving here. But I mean, what are you stuck with? I know you were saying, like, you've kind of been all over the place, and calorie restriction, that's just going to lower your metabolism. But yet some people can't do fasting or shouldn't do it if they're in a place where they're, you know, not going to be okay. Like, I go through a lot of other things with clients, like, are you sleeping? Are you digesting the food you ate? Because you could be eating perfect macros, but if it's going right through you, well, your body's like, well, we can't lose any weight because we're starving. So, like, there's so many other pieces that I always make sure we address, that it isn't just one thing, but there are a lot of things you can do to make sure we lower the stresses, we strengthen the defenses so that your body feels safe to actually lose the weight. And that's where chronic cardio comes in, because that may be a massive stress. Endurance cardio, running, like, some of these things are way too much on people, especially with women that have undereaten the majority of their lives. And when we've always been on a diet, you may need to eat enough for a while to actually reset your metabolism. And then if you fast, if you are not eating, say you're eating 2,500, 2,500 calories for a while, and your body's like feeling good, you're sleeping good, and then you ate nothing the next day, your basal metabolic rate actually goes up. And then, but you ate no calories. And then the next day, if you did eat, same thing. So you're not having this down regulation of caloric, you know, having these deficits. I know some people do like alternate days where they're eating at a maintenance and then they go low and they go high. I mean, it's going to be bio-individual if that's going to be easier for you. Like, I mean, you're in the kitchen all the time. How does that work for you, fasting?
Clearly not that well. Yeah, so I mean, is that something you would recommend though, then, instead of, like, I mean, maybe still track macros, but instead of like being in a deficit every single day, just throwing in those, like, you know, 36 to 48 or whatever hour fast, like, is that good enough? See, Ayana just said she'd rather be in a deficit than fast. And I find I get that too, because sometimes I get sad if I'm not eating every day. But it's almost like you either are in a deficit and you're slightly hungry every single day, or you can be satisfied 6 days and be hungry-ish on one day if you're fasting. Because I feel like the hunger kind of goes away. For me, it was like mentally I wanted to eat. It wasn't so much like I'm like, oh, I feel starving. So is that something, if someone wants to do fasting, is that how it works then? Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, so when I have people with fasting, it comes from a different place. So, like, if you were just, even most carnivores are not in ketosis because they're eating, a lot of times they're eating way too much protein. I know that sounds like a lot of people aren't eating enough protein, or if you're a standard American diet, but a lot of carnivores might be just filling up on protein and not getting enough fat, and that's why they don't feel great either. So, you know, getting enough protein is important. And then, for us was going with that. Oh, but ketosis. So a lot of times what you shouldn't have to like white knuckle a fast. If you do it from ketosis, and you know, like, I'll have people check their blood sugar. What were your ketones? Are you actually, it's like, are you pregnant? Are you not? Are you in ketosis or are you not? And then it's so much easier to do that fast that, like, you're just not hungry. And that's kind of a nice way. It also helps if somebody's really hangry all the time and has all kinds of blood sugar things. Eating a little bit more fat in the beginning can help really bring the insulin levels down. and not have that hangriness and just really help reset the hunger a little bit. But that fast, once you get into ketosis and start a fast, if you have other issues going on, and most of the people that find me are like, they can't lose weight, they are on carnivore, they have been keto or low carb, and they're stuck and they're not losing weight, or they're not sleeping, or their electrolytes are all messed up. So there's always something else as well. So we do look at everything, but in order, we want autophagy, and there's a great chance of that happening when we fast a certain level. So I look at like the glucose and the ketones to kind of divide the two. If you can get under 40 to under 20, when you divide them, those are really great chances of autophagy, and actually, you're burning body fat and in the weight loss zone for sure. A lot of times that's like a ketone level of a 3, but it's going to be individual how long it takes somebody to get there. And if you want to do it once or twice, once a week, that might be enough. It's going to depend on your current situation, how much weight you have to lose, how much muscle you have in your body, how much stress are you under. Like, everybody is so different when it comes to a lot of those things. But I am more of a fan of fasting, because we're able to do this reset. You're able to, just reset your hunger signals, feel better, lower inflammation, repair other things that maybe haven't been repaired in a really long time. So it is really great way to kind of just clear everything out, do some healing. Maybe you had some digestive issues or gut issues, and nice little reset. And to do it once a week, then you eat, every other day. So for me, sometimes it's a 48-hour fast, because if I worked out, if I did some heavier workouts, I might be in that level quicker. If I did some sprints, I don't even have to fast as long. So it depends on your activity level. It depends on your muscle, all the other things when you get into those numbers. But yeah, it really is going to be bio-individual. It might take somebody a really long time to even get into ketosis if they're very sick. But there's a lot of healing in that, because you also get 4 times the amount of ATP, which is energy. Every cell has that much more energy when you're in ketosis. So there's a lot more things can happen rapidly, and you're not going to be hungry. So I love that. It doesn't have to work. It will work for everybody, but can everybody do it? Is kind of the piece to that.
Okay.
So,
just to clarify, so would you want them to be in ketosis before they fasted, and then also check the levels while you're fasting, like use your Keto Mojo during it?
So during, like, when you're done, so at least one sleep. A lot of times people need like it. You could check it at like 24 hours. You don't have to do it constantly, but maybe check it at 24 hours when you first start out, because you'll kind of know then, like, oh, it takes me about 48 hours to get to where I want to be. And you will feel much better. You'll feel deflated. You'll feel, less inflammation. But yeah, we've always fasted as a species. Like, food was, if you didn't catch something that day, you didn't eat. We eat a lot. And like, even on carnivore, like, I remember when I started, I was eating and like I was losing weight and things were good. I was eating pretty good. Like, I would say like a 1-to-1 ratio, and I was probably right in the sweet spot. But then like, I was stuck. I wanted to lose a little bit more, but I was pretty lean. So, but there were times I'm like, well, I wasn't hungry, but I should eat. Like, it's late now, and if I don't eat, it's tomorrow, so I should eat. And like, sometimes you have to really listen to your body. Like, am I really hungry, or am I bored? Like, because it's time to eat, or am I hungry because I want to eat? And the best thing about that, like, if you're just doing a fast, like, yep, I'm fasting and I'm just fasting, the rest of the week you're eating normal. You can eat breakfast if you want to eat breakfast, and like, you can eat 3 times a day, 2 times a day, whatever your comfort level is. But it can really just help kind of be a reset for the body. And yeah, it's really, really helpful for a lot of people. But yeah, that's my.
And would you also, if you're doing like a longer fast, like a 36 or whatever, would you then the following days also recommend doing like intermittent fasting, like just having a shorter eating window that day? Or does it matter? Is like that one fast good enough for the week?
So it depends on the person, but I never recommend snacking all day long, like ever. So you can eat 3 meals, you can eat 2 meals, eating enough in that window, the same amount, and you should have a short enough eating window. Like you don't need to eat before, like cut it off a couple hours before bedtime, ideally before it's really dark for the majority of the time. So a lot of people can fit into an 8 to 10 hour window. Like that's ideal for most people. And that's actually intermittent fasting for most people because they just are so used to eating from the moment they wake up to the minute they go to bed.
Yeah. And do you also follow like Dr. Mindy's protocols and like don't fast the week before your cycle?
I don't, but I know like may want to pay attention. Like if you're really hungry, it's going to be harder probably the week before your cycle, especially if you're not coming from ketosis, which like you said, a lot of people may not be, and you can skip that week for sure. It's going to be bio individual. I know there's times that like actually autophagy can trigger ovulation. So it's going to depend on the person, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to do it every week. Like it's going to be up to you when you feel it. You could do it once a week. You could do 2 36 hours a week, like 136 and another 36. Like it depends on you and your comfort level. And if you hate it, then maybe it's going to be more of calories for you, but it's going to take you longer and your body's going to adjust.
Okay. Your dog hydrating.
Just house in water.
Let's go back to that chronic cardio thing you said. It's just so crazy because on every topic there's going to be things on both sides. People are going to have different explanations and whatever. So I see a lot of people saying like, oh, you do need cardio, and then you see people that say no. Like I remember when I was first discovered Mark Sisson for paleo in 2010, it was like eat paleo, lift heavy shit, and do sprints. And so I did that for a while. And now I feel like I kind of like forgot about the sprint thing, but it's coming back because everyone's talking about Dr. O'Mara.
Yeah.
What's his name? O'Mara.
Yeah, Dr. He's got a lot of great stuff on sprint. And it is that. Yeah.
Sorry.
What was your question?
There's a delay. I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to know like your thoughts then on cardio, on weightlifting. Like what would, in your opinion, be like the best approach for this to also be linked with weight loss?
Yeah. So any endurance cardio, like most women especially are like, oh, I need to go to spin class and burn all of these calories, and I do, I need to run a marathon or train for a marathon. Like if you look at marathoners, they probably have a lot less muscle too. Like endurance, your body now has to learn how to be more efficient at doing that. And it gets smarter. So it is going to try to do it more efficiently. And also you want to lighten the chassis. So you're going to have less muscle. You're going to look different. So you may lose a little weight, but what are you losing? Muscle? Are you losing fat? These are all things that you want to, you're not going to know. And if you look at the bodies of sprint, they are muscle. Like it is. And actually, I think Dr. Sean O'Mara actually goes into like the 100-meter versus the 200-meter. And even like the ones that do the shorter distance, like they even have more muscle than the ones that are, it's not even like that much longer, but a very intense, brief, sprint, max effort, and then a rest. Like that is really depleting your glycogen. It's targeting your fat exactly. And it's not this super long drawn out thing that actually can increase cortisol, which is our fat storing hormone. So any stress, and I talk about distress because it's usually like overthinking, or maybe there's emotional, or it can be a physical stress. It can be, all of these different things that when your cortisol is high, you are in fat storage mode. You are not going to be burning that. So chronic cardio can keep cortisol high, and it may work for some people if everything else was perfect. I don't do it. I haven't done straight cardio in to 8 years, maybe. I don't like it. I'll do maybe an interval, like if I'm doing a hike outside or something, like, yeah, you're going up a hill and then like you're resting. And it's like, oh, because your heart rate is going through the roof. Like, yeah, you're going to then take a rest because you need to. But yeah, I love sprinting. Start slowly because we don't want anyone to hurt themselves. Like, you can ramp up and then like as long as you can go and then rest. And if you did one that day, great. If you want to do it again, that's great too. But I mean, you could have an amazing workout in like less than 10 minutes, even if you're rested, counting rests or, varying that. But it really does improve muscle mass. Lowers body fat specifically. So yeah, I love that type of cardio per se, if you're thinking of it in its true form. But what we want is we want more muscle because that is more metabolically active. It supports us. It's associated with brain health, longevity, you name it. You want more muscle and you're going to look better. Everybody doesn't care what the number on the scale says. They care what they look like in the mirror.
Yeah, true. Someone's asking about the sprints. You do sets of 10, 5. I heard 10, right? With resting in between.
It's up to you. You can change it up. Like, we don't want to like have it be exactly recipe cookie cutter. We want it like maybe one day, especially if you're new to it, like don't go full out. You might be really sore. Like, you don't want to hurt yourself. So go really slow. Do one as long, for like max 10 seconds and then rest. How long you need to kind of chill. Maybe if you're doing like walk neighborhood and then you ran and then you walk and then all right, I'm kind of feeling ready for another one, do another one. So it may not be like exactly 10 minutes. You could maybe do 4 to 6 of them. You could do 2 or 3 and just mix it up and see how you feel. But yeah, it should be brief. Like, I always tell people, like, do the minimum that you need to do to be effective. Like, it's all about the minimum effective dose, really.
Okay. We have some questions. Put the questions in the little question box, you guys. It makes it a little easier to find them. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Any advice for maintaining after a big weight loss? Was carnivore, but transitioning back to clean keto. The scale going up and down is driving me crazy.
I would ask what else you're eating, more keto treats, things like that. And I still always like to focus on nutrient density, and that's why carnivore is the most nutrient dense, because if you're eating meat, eggs, and protein like as the center of the meal, you're filling up on the best foods, that you're not going to be as hungry and there's not this excess, filler. With keto, sometimes people will like the salad's now the focus in the meal, and then they're like putting other stuff. There's a little bit of stuff on top of it. So I would look at that. I would see, are there keto treats? Are you making a lot of funky recipes and things to, keep it fun, keep it light? Like, I'm very boring. It works for me, but I'll make a recipe when people come over, or like a different kind of bun or something. But like tonight for dinner, I had a burger with no bun and 3 eggs. So, and some butter. Like, I'm very boring. So,
and I would also just think like the scale going up and down a few pounds is also normal. Like, if you're weighing yourself every day and then the next day it goes up 3 pounds, yeah. Well, you didn't gain 3 pounds of fat, you know, like, so it's just something that's holding on to water. So I don't know, if it were me and I was at my maintenance, I would be done weighing myself every day. Like, what is that data doing to you besides stressing you out?
And I would also want to know, if you're at your maintenance, if you're trying to maintain now, were you way down here calorie wise before and now you're up here? Because that is going to make a difference. Don't weigh yourself, but also if you just ramp things up and you're eating a lot more now, that's going to maybe make a little bit of a difference. So a lot of things to look at there.
Yeah. Okay. Another one. Let's see. My biggest issue with sticking to this is my sugar cravings, especially when sleep deprived. Any tips on how to fight these cravings?
So sorry, somebody is there. Sugar cravings, eat enough other food. Fill up on burger patties, eggs. Like just try to eat carnivore foods when the sugar kicks in. Maybe even if you need like a brown butter bite, like something that's maybe a little bit of a satisfying type treat, so that you can get that, that little bit of a fix. It will pass. Like the first 2 weeks are the hardest for most to really kick that, but lean on just stay carnivore if you can, and not do that. If there are some supplements out there, if you're really, really stuck and have a lot of blood sugar issues and crashes and things like that, but that sweet craving is a blood symptom for the most part that people get really, really stuck with.
Yeah, and it definitely gets easier. So you just need to get through it. Like just fight through those first couple weeks and then they really go away. I feel like what I always say, if you're having that craving in the moment, like it's like your mouth that wants something. Your mouth wants to taste that, or it wants that dopamine hit. So I love like bubbly waters, or have a bite of butter, pinch of salt on your tongue, like just something like change up maybe like what your mouth needs.
Yeah.
Or go like distract yourself, go get your dopamine hits somewhere else, because you're eating that because you're trying to like cover up an emotion or deal with something like emotionally. And then pay attention to what you're eating normally. Make sure, like for me, if I was having stevia, that would probably continue on the sugar cravings for me, or even just having fruit. So I would pay attention to also what you're consuming as well.
Yeah, when I cut out stevia, it was a game changer for me. Like I used to have so much coffee. Like I would have coffee. I think I had stevia with a side of coffee. Like it was just so much sweetness and all the vanilla powder, I would add all this stuff. And it's like, that was a dessert. Like I was drinking a dessert coffee every morning and I was wondering why I just wanted more and more sugar all the time. Needed gum after every meal, like just all kinds of stuff to keep that sugar craving. And for me, when I cut it out, it went away. So
Yeah,
yeah,
same.
but like you said, it's emotional a lot of times that you need that fix.
Okay. Oh, what did I just do? Sorry. All I eat is beef, bacon, butter, and I'm still in the 180s. Did a thyroid test, was told my thyroid got better, but I'm still not losing the weight. I have adjusted my macros multiple times. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, is that one in there? All I eat is beef. Yeah. So I'm guessing the 180s are the weight, is the
Yeah.
pounds, and a thyroid test. So if you're good, that's good. You're not losing the weight. Adjusting your macros. So I would want to know, when I have people work with me, I fill out a 3-day food journal, like everything you ate for 3 days, because I want to know exactly, did you, timing, how many times a day, how much are you eating? Because there's a time when we do need to eat a lot. Like there's seasons for all of these things. So when people start carnivore, they usually are like feeling really good and by just eating anything carnivore, and they lose weight and then they get stuck. So if you are eating a lot of butter and beef and bacon and all of these things that are really good, maybe it's a very fatty beef, you could be overeating. Like excess energy over and over and over is not good. Like eating too much is still, you're not going to lose weight. We want to make sure you're eating enough while losing weight. I would maybe try some fasting and see how you do. I would love to know, like, we've talked about macros a little bit, like the majority of where people, I think some carnivores overeat protein because they think I need more protein, and then they're not getting enough fat. Like you need enough protein for muscle and repair and tissues, then you need enough fat for energy. But too much fat, you're going to add body fat, and too little fat, you're probably going to have stress. So if you're not sleeping, or if you're not digesting, or your hair is falling out, all of these things are red flags. But I would maybe look into some fasting. I'm glad that you're eating whole foods. Like that's really good. And that your thyroid's well, like that means you're in a good place. But if you're not losing the weight, when you're adjusting macros, I would wonder how much you're actually eating, because maybe you're too low.
Yeah, I see that a lot too. It's so frustrating. There are so many pieces to this weight loss puzzle, and it's really challenging. It's not just, cut and dry, here's your macros, like you still have to do other things. But It's sounding like you're also on the same page that, I mean, calories do matter to an extent, right? I feel like there's a lot being talked about right now because I do see some people like think calories don't matter. I still believe they matter. I think maybe we kind of can get away with eating a little bit more than when you are having carbs, or maybe it's just the recommendations have changed since I was, 20 years ago dieting and they told us 1,200 calories. So what are your thoughts on that?
So they will matter if you eat to excess. And they're not the most important to me. Like nutrient density is number one. And you're not an ice cube. Like calories in, calories out is not a thing. Like today I was out, it was actually beautiful here, and I sat in the sun while I was doing a lot. And that is going to, my body now needs more fat because it's going to produce vitamin D, a hormone. So like for dinner, I was ravenous for butter because my body's like, we're making hormones. Like, and I'm more in touch with that now because I can tell I'm craving that. Like, yeah, that's probably why. Like, if I were sticking to just a calorie, I would probably wake up and feel like crap tonight because I didn't eat enough and, all of that. So there is more to it. Your hormones are going to dictate that. Like if your insulin, your cortisol, your minerals, like I have people, you have to have enough minerals. When you're stressed, you burn through them. You need all these things for reactions in the body. So I do think they matter. But once we get your body into a place where it can learn proper hunger signaling, you're pretty intuitive that you won't need to track calories. And there might be days where you're going to eat a whole lot, and the next day is like, well, yeah, I'm really not that hungry today. But we don't often do that because we just are used to eating, well, I know I usually eat this much, so I'll eat this much.
Okay.
So it's a hard answer because it is going to change, and it's going to depend on the person because some people can't have that free pass that calories don't matter because then they'll just eat everything. And we need to fix your hunger signaling first. And that's where fasting can really help bring everything down, do a nice reset. And when you start losing some weight, that fat is not messing with your hunger signaling.
Okay. So it's like it's not just the calories, then it's like the macros then too. Like it does have to do with like your fat and your protein then, I guess is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all of it. And you need to eat enough protein. Some people, if they're lifting a lot of weights and they are going to need more protein than somebody that's sitting and not doing anything, or they're just walking. We probably get enough. Most carnivores get enough protein if all you're eating is meat, but they're still afraid of eating fat. Some of them may not be. If you eat fatty meat, like a 70-30 or a 1-80-20 1-to-1 ratio, for most people, if it's just carnivore, they will lose weight. Like there's really not a huge need to go lower than that because protein is thermogenic, like meaning about 25% of the protein you take in is actually burned in the process of breaking it down. So it isn't exactly like every calorie does not equate to a calorie. And that's why I don't like calories, because fat is broken down differently, protein's broken down differently. So a calorie does not equal a calorie.
Okay. Well, speaking of calories, she did answer your question. She is at around 1,600 calories. That was to who we were talking about before. Do you think that's too low, generally speaking?
I don't know how tall you are, how much muscle you are, how old you are. 1,600 calories is pretty low for most adult women. And if you've been at and how long have you been in 1,600 calories? How long have you been in a deficit? Because if you like when bodybuilders are doing shows and things like that, they go from bulking to cutting, right? They're not in a cut phase forever where they are doing these deficits. They do things very specifically for a reason, that they are eating above while they're trying to gain muscle, and then they do a cut. It's like 4 to 6 weeks, and then they go back up. And that is why it's short and sweet. And for most women, we've just been like, I eat 1,200 calories for the rest of my life because I'm supposed to lose weight. And that is not going to be good for anybody. So I'd have to know a lot more. But it is, there's seasons to what you should be doing.
And this is why it makes sense to work with somebody if you're struggling and if you've been stalled for a while, because there's so many different things to look at, and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, like knowing that you even know all this information to help someone figure this out. So
Yeah.
I'm a little stressed out just like hearing this, like, oh my gosh, like a little
Or
wild.
somebody like, I went to school for this. I've been carnivore for 4.5 years, almost 5 years in January. I've been keto for like 5.5. And guess what? I gained weight on carnivore when somebody told me like you needed to eat fat every 3 hours to keep your blood sugar. I mean, I've done things that I learned, well, that didn't work and that was wrong. So let me understand and learn more and research and then go back to school. So work with somebody that you don't have to figure this out by yourself.
Yeah. Okay. If anybody has questions, pop them into the chat because it's kind of, they get lost. I think, oh, I can't show them. Okay. I think a few went by that I missed. So if anyone has any questions, pop them in. Is there anything else you want to touch on while we wait for any questions on how we can magically lose the rest of our weight that we're all stuck at?
So I will say, I know I talked about fasting. It is a superpower, honestly. It's a mental game for sure. Some videos, Dr. Jason Fung, he is like the fasting guru, and they have him and Megan Ramos have like an obesity clinic that they have tens of thousands of patients that they have successfully done fasting with, that they've lost amazing amounts of weight, no more diabetes, no more, metabolic diseases, all these things. And it's amazing because you taking in 0 calories, your body does other processes that have been on hold because it was too busy doing other things. So it really is the missing piece for a lot of people. I know when I had gained a certain amount of weight, like then I just felt stuck. And when you have too much fat, that is a lot of inflammatory markers that are signaling that there's chaos in the body, like it was the game changer for me. But I did it coming from a place of nourishment and understanding what I feel like, addressing my minerals during it, not feeling dizzy. You can't just go from a 0 to 72-hour fast if you've never done it before, because you will be miserable and you will hate your life. So there's a lot of, I would recommend his videos. Maybe I'll even see if I can I'll post a link in my stories to like one of my favorite ones of his, that's a good one. But it is one of my favorites because whether, I know people are like, oh, I worry about a cycle or a thyroid. I did not have a cycle. And when I got my cycle. So it's a lot of information out there that it's bad for your thyroid. It's bad for this. If you chronically undereat, that is what is causing these issues. But if you eat enough food and then you can do some therapeutic fasting, there's a lot of benefits to it.
Awesome. Okay. I just made a comment. I was hoping I could like pin it. There we go. Okay. Any questions, guys? Not in the comment box. If you can please, there's a little bubble that has a question mark. If you could please put them there, because then they're all organized. Because anytime someone joins this chat, it says to us who joined, and I just lost like 3 questions. Let me go back.
One about hair loss in here.
Oh, yeah, I did see that come up a couple times. Okay, so yeah, what's your thought? I always thought, yeah, like under eating or not enough protein, but what's your thoughts on that?
It's stress. It can be from too much stress. So I lost hair. I'm still growing it back. Like it's still a little wonky over here. Like it's not as long, and I wasn't going to chop it, but it takes a long time to come back. So I get it. And under eating was one of those for me that I learned the hard way, that I was just eating too lean of protein, so focused on that I then losing hair. Like it was coming out in like fistfuls in the shower, and I would cry. I wash my hair. So I know what that looks like, and it can be from just too much stress on your body. Fasting is not the problem with it if you can nourish. So I just always say, like, it's coming from a place of nourishment. We're starting you by eating enough, by doing the right things, and being in a good place, and then from there, depending on the person. And I actually, I because there's so many nuances, I have a lot of client resources that I just compiled and made an ebook, because so many people just ask a lot for a lot of the same things, and that'll be on my website very soon. Within like a week, I'll have that up that people can download it instantly, and it's fasting and minerals and macros and sleep and hydration and all of these things, because it's not just it's the whole picture, and it's the whole body. And as much as we want to fix just the one thing, it's all the things, and you can't do it in isolation.
Okay. Here's another how to track. Well, it says keystones easiest. Is that ketones they're meaning, or is there keystones that I don't know what that is?
I'm guessing ketones.
Okay.
You have to do a finger prick, and you would have, like, that's the best way, is knowing your blood glucose and then your ketones, if you're actually in ketosis. And I have a Keto Mojo. There's other versions of other things out there that are, whether they're cheaper or whatever you have access to. That's what I use, but it is pretty easy, and you don't have to do it like every day. Like, I'll do it like before. I usually just check it when I'm fasting, like when I wake up and be like, okay, that's my numbers. I wanted to know, okay, cool. And then I've gotten my fast and I've done this, and then I'm not going to eat tonight because I checked it and I was still not the number exactly I wanted. So the next morning I'm like, okay, I checked it and now I'm good. I'm going to eat at some point. And the next, after I work out, I'll eat, or, I kind of make my decisions based on my ketones when I'm fasting. When
Okay.
you're eating fat, you're just checking ketones of fat you're burning from your plate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, sorry guys, if your question box might look different than mine, but it's something on the bottom right. Okay. Any recommended supplements when sick?
I mean, when you're sick, more mineral, like bone broth is really good if you can tolerate it. Um, Getting outside, vitamin D, grounding. I know it sounds woo woo, but like getting your feet in the grass and like just being outside in nature, and less blue light at night. I know some people talk about the blue blockers, but that can be stressful if you're not sleeping well. Rest, hydration, minerals. Yeah, those would be my top supplements. There's other things,
Um,
methylene blue and some other things, but you don't have to get crazy. It depends on what kind of sick, like, but mostly those would be like my go-tos.
okay, sorry if I missed you saying this. I had a call come through and it muted you. Did you say supplement? Did you say organs at all? Do you do organ supplements?
I do not. I don't do organs. Some people do. I don't think you need to supplement with organs. Like, of people selling supplements sell supplements for a business. I don't think you need them. If you like liver or something like that once in a while and eat it, maybe that's fine. But like forcing it, I think is too much. Like, that's a lot. It's a lot of other stuff, and you want things in balance. That, like, if you think of like a whole cow, there's only one liver, and it's, the ratio is kind of the way that I think of it. I've had liver here and there because I loved like liverwurst. That was one of the things I would buy, and like, then when I made chicken liver pate, and that's okay, but beef liver pate is gross to me. So um, I think if you like it, have it maybe once in a while, maybe every other week or something. But yeah, don't force it if you don't like it.
Okay, someone is asking or saying, when I use ketone meter, I am always in ketosis, but have been stalled in weights for 8 months, eating 6, 70, 30 fat pro. Okay, I don't totally know what that means. Sleep well, fast 18 hours a day.
So I would wonder, like, if you're in ketosis, okay, that's good. But if your blood sugar is 80 and you have a key and you're in like you have a ketones are to 1, there's a very low chance of weight loss there, because depending on like if you are eating enough fat, like yeah, your body might be burning some fat. Um, you don't have to be in keto. So being in ketosis when you're eating doesn't mean you're losing weight. Being in ketosis when you're fasting means you're burning fat and you are actually losing body fat. And that's the difference. So being in ketosis can be very therapeutic and very healing and very good for you and a way to enter that fast, but it is not ensuring that you are losing weight.
Okay, she clarified. Oh, the fat dash pro was fat to protein. Okay, I don't know what the eating 6 means, but she's eating like 70-30 fat to protein, which I feel like is like
Yeah,
normal carnivore. It ends up being like equal fat and protein usually, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
No,
oh, sorry. So going back to her original thing, but if okay, so yeah, she's in ketosis, she's eating 70-30 fat to protein ratios. She fasts 18 hours a day, she sleeps well, and like most of us stuck in the weight loss. So maybe trying one of those longer fasts.
it might be something to try. And how close are you to your goal weight? If you're really close, like it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a lot harder to lose those last couple pounds. If you're still really far away, there might be some other healing that you need too. Like, but I wouldn't go lower in those macros majority of the time on a fasting day. That's good to not eat, but yeah, that's what I would maybe experiment with, especially, I'd want to know your hunger levels. I'd want to know a little bit more, but it's good that you're sleeping and it sounds like you're eating pretty well. I just don't know how much weight you have left to lose, and that it's going to be different for everybody.
Oh,
Nobody likes
okay.
that.
The 6 was a typo. She was saying she's eating 2 mad. So 2 mad with that 18-hour. So yeah, longer fasts I feel like might be the answer for a lot of people, huh?
Yeah. And it's hard because like I think people think, oh, fasting, well, I only eat 2 meals a day, so I'm fasting. You are intermittent fasting. You are not extended fasting for a therapeutic reason or for weight loss. So they're two separate things. And you don't have to do this perfect 18-6 every day, or all of those things. Like if that works for you, great. And if it doesn't, then you can make changes. There's people that eat 3 meals, there's people that eat 2 meals, there's people that you know you shouldn't have more than 3 is the most part. But like I know, like before my cycle, like the other night, I was like, man, I had already eaten, but at like right, later on after I ate, I'm like, I'm still hungry. And like I asked myself, like, could I eat eggs? And I'm like, yeah, I could eat eggs. I eat eggs. And then I had a little extra butter. And the next day I got my cycle. So it was like, well, yeah, I needed more food. So listen to your body as you get more in tune with it.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I know I've learned that from Kelly. And hi Kelly, because she's gonna catch the replay. She said find your like baseline food, like something that you would not maybe normally love, but if you're hungry, like you would eat it. So if it's like sardines, like something you're just kind of like about, or like a cold burger patty. So if you're, sorry, I just got distracted reading this comment. Okay, thank you, but that's not my cookbook. The ebook that's $7.99 isn't a cookbook. There's a few recipes in there, but that's my how to get started on your carnivore journey. So it's like everything you need to know to get going.
Right.
Thank you though. Let me know if you want a refund if that wasn't what you were expecting. So find that food that you. Danny says no sardines ever. Yeah, no, thank you either. But find that food so you
Yeah,
know,
no
like
sardines.
what's that?
No sardine fasts, please.
Yeah. So find that food that like you would probably only really like to eat if you were actually hungry. So, cold burger patties, like if you're not actually hungry, would you go and eat that? Like I could eat cheese and bacon if I was absolutely stuffed. So find that food to really help like assess your hunger levels for sure.
Yeah, like a whole food, like not a snacky food. Like you said, cheese and bacon are really, really tasty. You could always eat it even if you're not hungry. But like, do I want to make, like, eggs are so easy to make quickly that I'm like, do I want to make 2 eggs? Yeah, I could eat that right now. So I'm gonna eat.
Yeah. Okay, my husband just joined. Hi Jeff, you're right. The answer is fasting. So but sometimes
So,
you just have to hear it from somebody else, right? Like he says things and then some and I'll be like, and then someone else says it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, and I'll tell him. He's like, that's what I've been telling you. So
but
okay.
it may be what you need, but it's baby steps. Like you've done so much. You should be so proud of what you've already done. Like it has been, you haven't even been doing this that long, right? Like, has it even been a year yet for you?
Yeah, actually 500 days tomorrow.
Awesome. But you've lost what, like 50 pounds?
45
Like that's amazing. That's
almost.
things. So, like, I know you're stuck on this next piece, but like, you got to celebrate what you've already done and achieved. And you have so many followers that are like jumping on and learning about carnivore and eating good foods, and you make great recipes. So you're doing so well already that you need to celebrate you, and you'll get there. You're in, it sounds like you're lifting, you're doing those things. Like, just try to like be consistent. You can start a little bit of the fasting, and then everything will fall into place, because it's not going to happen overnight as much as we want it to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the kind words. And I feel like a lot of people can probably take that too. I think we are always just on to the next and not celebrating our wins in more aspects than just like our health wins for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, we talked about cardio, but quickly, if anyone has any questions, put them in that little question box. But what are your thoughts then? So we're like down with sprinting, not prolonged, not prolonged cardio. But then weightlifting, I think, is great, right? What are your thoughts then? Because I see, I don't want to like call her out specifically, but it's not a bad thing. Carnivore Doctor does 2 like weightlifting workouts a week, but they're like a slow burn. I'm just curious because I don't know anything about that. Like, it's like, have you seen her share that? I forget whose like thing it is. So it's like okay, well this I was hoping you would know because I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like a very like slow kind of weightlifting burn. Like you're not cranking out reps
Uh,
like normal. So
so I mean, I love time under tension is what you need for muscles and for muscle building, and it's going to be different for everybody. I love resistance bands because you can do it at home. They're inexpensive. You're less likely to be injured majority of the time because you're not going as heavy, and they're that variable resistance. And yeah, you want to be able to be focusing on the muscle that you're trying to work, because if you're compensating doing other things like going super heavy, then that's not great. So we want to not injure ourselves. We want to, and I like doing them till failure as well. I'm, I'm just, I've done all the things. Like, I've been to the gym and I do the squats and the deadlifts and I do all that. But now ever since the lockdowns, I canceled my gym membership, and we have everything here because I was like, I can't. Now that's an extra 40 minutes, like just driving 20 minutes and 20 minutes back. I'm like, I could be done with my workout in 40 minutes. So now I just do everything at home. And yeah, I love resistance training to failure if you can. The bands are great because they don't overload the joints. They are, good for you're able to target the muscle. Um, TRX is another one I love, and you can do at home, and that's a variable resistance training. It's using your body weight at different angles, and same thing. You're doing a controlled, slow, contraction, and it's really, really, really great. I'm certified in teaching TRX as well, so I love those the most, and you can take them anywhere. But yeah, I'm happy to help anyone make a program if they need help with that. But
yeah,
resistance training, yeah.
TRX is great. We actually, Jeff like made his own version.
No.
But I had one when I worked on a boat, and talking about using them everywhere. Like we literally like attached it to the davit that was on the top deck that would like lower the tender in, and would get up. I used to be so good with my fitness. I would do the TRX on the boat. We'd go to shore. I would run sprints in the morning before everyone got up. And I thought I was fat then. I feel like we all had that thing like, oh, I wish I was as fat as I was like 20 years ago when I thought I was fat. Oh my goodness.
No, but everybody it always focuses on like you need to focus on what you're doing. Like the non-scale victories even are so huge. Like if when I have clients that like they'll write me this thing like as an update, like, well, I'm sleeping better. I don't have migraines anymore, but I didn't lose weight. And I'm like, hello, you're sleeping through the night and you don't have migraines? Like, celebrate that. That's going in the right direction. So we have to take the baby steps because it doesn't all come at once. But, and another thing, like there's so many people that just want to do, you know, not echelon, but Peloton spin classes every morning and go crazy. And I'm like, and even some of their weightlifting, it's just cardio. Like throwing weights up and down, like doing something totally different every day is not what you want to do. Like you want to build muscle, you want to do that to failure, and you want to grow it. So that's not going to get the job done.
So ditch the 2-pound weights. Like I was doing something, I was in some sort of workout class, and it's like, okay, 2-pounders, but yeah, when you do them 50 times, your arm's going to get tired, but is that really like doing what you want it to do? Probably not. It's just glorified cardio.
Yeah. I'm not a huge like bar, that kind of person, but you know, it's a little bit, it's not as good of an, like we didn't do that really in nature as much. Like, yeah, maybe you were carrying something heavy and just, I don't know. I try to just be efficient. Why take 3 minutes to feel a burn? just do it quicker.
Yeah, lift it heavier.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for who plugged this in. If anyone wants to look more into the slow burn that Dr. Lisa does, it was developed by Fred Hahn. So it's interesting. I'm not judging her because I don't know anything about it. I was just curious about it. So if anyone wants to dig more.
I mean, I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but a slow, you're gonna contract
With heavy weights. Yeah, like
yeah, a slow, you want it slow and controlled. It's this in a slow eccentric, like if a bicep curl, you're doing that contract.
But it's very slow. I've seen her stories. Yeah, it's different than just like doing some curls. It's interesting.
I'll have to look it up, but 1 to 2, it's going to depend on the person. But yeah, I mean, if it's working for her, great. But if I don't know if it's the answer. There's always something new. Like someone puts their spin on, and a lot of times it's like, do you want to just be efficient? Like, there's a really great Dr. Jackish. I don't know if that's how you say his name, or Jankish. He has the X3 bar. He has a lot of really great posts about muscle, and he wrote a book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time, and it's really excellent. And he talks a lot about just how to be efficient and like what we've been taught with all the reps and the sets and these things, and then like, how about you just go be efficient, get it done, and have the muscle. So it's actually really interesting.
That is interesting because I follow him. Is it like a big bald guy with like a supermodel wife?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm new to following him, so I don't even know what his content's about. But that's interesting. I'll have to look that up because he's like big and buff and gnarly. Like he's like the Hulk.
Yeah, he has a good book. I mean, a lot of it is going to sell his product, the X3, which is a bar with it's a resistance band with a bar, which is nice for lifting heavy. I do have one because I love it for legs. I was like, I either build a squat rack, which I can't take with me when we move, or we get this bar that I can lift heavy and I can take that. So it ended up being a great thing, but it is really nice. It's pretty versatile. And it is simple. It's not the only thing I do. Like I know he says you only need to do this, but I do other things, but it is a nice tool. But his book, I do like the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. It's very similar. He's a carnivore. He has a lot of similar, principles that I definitely agree with.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I didn't know that he wrote that, so I'll have to check it out. It's interesting. All right, guys, we're coming up on an hour. So if there's any more questions, pop them in. But in the meantime, um, Sarah, tell us like how they can find you. Well, obviously they can find you here, but tell them like what you do to like work with them. Like clearly a lot of people could use your help for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm Sarah. I'm in the Buff Wellness, and my link in the buffwellness.com. But if you want to work one to one, I do virtual coaching. You can buy different packages where you fill out over 300 questions about your symptoms, your food and moods, like this food journal. What's your digestion look like? Like I ask you about, what does your poop look like? The toilet. I mean, we get very detailed because I need to know all these things. So we get very into what you need. And then coming up in about the next week is I have my ebook, which is coming out, that if you're not ready from one-to-one, but you want to understand, the whole picture. So it's the macros, it's the food, it's the digestion, it's the sleep, it's the minerals, it's the blood sugar, it's the working out. I cover all of these things in depth. That it's a nice way to get started. So that I feel like is very helpful for people. But what other questions do you have, Courtney? I hope this was helpful. I know you were kind of stuck. Does this make it better or worse?
Yeah, no, I mean it. I'm gonna focus more on tracking my macros because I can overeat. So I feel like it just helps me be more aware. I feel like my stuff gets wonky when I incorporate dairy. I feel like that can mess with my hunger cues, but
Yeah.
dairy is what also makes this sustainable for me. So maybe I'm just a true addict, but I'm not gonna give up the dairy. Um, what is my other takeaway? I'm gonna fast. My plan was before to like stop eating Sunday night after dinner. Monday, don't eat at all. And then Tuesday, like afternoon, have a meal. That's what I did a few weeks ago. And it ended up being like around a 44-hour fast. And I felt awesome. I don't remember like what my weight loss was or anything like just from that. Not that that matters, but it was definitely, I feel like a couple of pounds. And that's always like motivating to see.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. I did sprints on the beach 2 days ago, and
Nice.
I felt like I was a supermodel afterwards because it was so gnarly. I thought I was going to barf, but I felt good, and it felt like I was like burning my fat. Like, so I'm in a group chat on WhatsApp. I forgot who organized it. I want to maybe say Carnivore Amy. So if anyone wants to join, go find her. And she can share you the link, but it's everyone doing fasting and Omera's sprinting thing. So I'm going to start doing that 3 times a week. I'm going to get
Nice.
in my weekly fast, and hopefully that will be the magic ticket. Otherwise, I'm just going to like go get some lipo or something.
Oh my God. Great. Like, yeah, it's amazing how good you do feel after like a sprint. Like your whole body rush, like it's really good. And stay away from the scale, everyone, if you can. Take a picture in the mirror in the beginning of the month, and then keep being consistent. And then 2-3 weeks from now, 3-4 weeks from now, take another picture and compare. And don't see how your clothes fit and other things. Just step away from the scale. Because water change, like you can have changes up and down, especially as women with our cycles. Like blood is mostly water. You will weigh more when you have your cycle, just so you know. So all of these things matter, and don't get discouraged. So
Yeah, I mean, I gained 3 pounds the week before my cycle, and I feel like most people do. Like that's just normal. So
yeah,
yeah, the weighing. I mean, if you want to weigh yourself every day and it doesn't bother you, and you're just like, oh, interesting, like
yeah,
then whatever. But if it's like dictating how the rest of your day goes
yeah,
or changing like how you eat, then that's probably not the best idea.
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, in control. So, but I hope this was
Yeah.
helpful, and you can answer questions, and hopefully that's helpful. And you're already doing so great, so don't think you're not. And yeah, you'll get there. You'll get
Thank
there,
you.
and you don't have to worry about your health. So you're doing the right thing.
Thank you. Well, thanks for chatting with us. If you were late to joining, this replay will be available here, and I'll also share it to YouTube as well if that's easier for anybody. And yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm excited for the rest of the world to see it.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad it worked out. So thank you. It was fun.
All right. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thanks.
Bye.